Hi y'all, this is Regina. Welcome back to Regina's Crafting and More. Today I'm going to do a applique design, another patriotic. I'm trying to get it up before the 4th, by the end of the day today, it's Saturday. This is what I'm going to be doing. Now Crystal Campbell usually tests all my applique pieces. she loves to do applique, but she's taken a vacation and going to the beach. Oh, I envy her. And so I'm going to be doing this. And I'm going to show you the way I do it. All right, so first off, I print a template off my software. If you don't have software, try to use Embroidery Toolshed. You can get the free version, and it works great. I convert my designs to the different formats using that software for about half of the designs I have to convert. And you can print a template. You can watch designs stitch on the screen. So I print my template. Let me turn the camera down. All right, so I take my template and I look to see if my fabric is going to fit and give me plenty of room. I can see my design through here. You probably can't. Let's see. Oh dear. Hang on. All right, so I have a light box. I don't use it very often, but it has different brightnesses, and that's the brightest one. So I'm going to put this down, and I use it to see whether my piece of fabric is going to fit or not. And even though you're not right over me, let me pull this up a little closer and kind of turn this. Sorry about this. Okay, so you can see my design through this fabric. So I know this fabric I can use for 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of the bat. And then I need another piece, or 2, or 3, or 4. So let's see here. Let me turn this around this way. And I'm going to put it right there. And then I need another piece. So I could use this piece to do this section, and this section, and this section, and then a little piece to do this section. So I have plenty of fabric here that I can use to do the bats. All right, so I need this piece and this piece. I'm going to put it over there. And even though you can't hardly see the baseball, even though I'm going to be stitching onto white fabric, it's a plain white. So I'm going to use this stars. I don't know if you can see the stars on there or not. There you go. And oh, perfect. I'm going to use this fabric for my bat. All right, so I have my fabric that I need to do the applique. Let's go to the machine. Okay, and by the way, this light box is made by Caterpillar Glow. And like I said, it has 3 different brightnesses. It also comes with a cutting mat. So you could put your cutting mat on here and use this to cut with. I've never used it. I maybe have used it a couple times, but it was such a good price at the quilt show. I just went ahead and bought it. Matter of fact, I think they gave that to me free. All right, so let me turn this off and get to the machine. All right, so what I've done on the design is I've put the decorative fill, the stars and stripes, at the next to the last. The text is the last thing that stitches. So the first thing that this is going to stitch, I'm using an 8-inch hoop for my 8-inch design. And let's see, I need this one first. I have a pre-wound bobbin in. I'm using some no-show stabilizer that I've sewn together, because I'm just going to be cutting this off from the back around the decorative fill line. Okay, I have my pre-wound white bobbin in. I've got white in the top. And the file has a pink color stop first, which is a placement line. So you're not going to be able to see this because I'm just going to do it. You don't need to change colors. You put in whatever color you're going to use to do your satin stitching that goes around the design. and I know you can't see that. So that's my placement stitch. So I'm going to put my fabric down. I'm going to pull it back so I can see, and hopefully I'm just going to lift it up, make sure that I've got it covered. Okay, I do. All right, color stop number 2 is a blue. That is your tack down. So I'm going to stitch this fabric down. Now you're going to need some very sharp, fine applique scissors to trim this back. You want to get it back as close to this line as you possibly can. And, oh shoot, there goes the bobbin. That's not them, that's not them. Let's try using this. Okay, I like these because of the curved handle. These are made by, oh my goodness, I forgot the scissor guy's name. I'll think of it. Just give me a minute. All right, so I'm going to trim. Now, some of you are probably going, what in the heck is that blue stuff around her hoop? This is shelf liner. It helps hold your fabric in place. No-show stabilizer is very thin, and I have 2 layers, and one layer is just barely fits the hoop. I mean, literally barely fits it. So I put some T-pins in to hold it also, because I don't want it shifting. So now I'm going to take my applique scissors, and I'm going to trim and put my scissors right along the line and trimming. I mean, it is right next to the line. I need to take this off because I've got to turn it around. Okay, so I hold the fabric up, and that allows you to, come on. Okay, where's my other ones? I gotta find my other ones. These aren't sharp. I have not had scissors sharpened since Brent quit coming to the quilt show, and I need to send them all in to be sharpened. Oh, for crying out loud, this is pain. Okay, maybe I can go this way. Oh man, I just can't take the time to send all these scissors in, but I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to send them in. There we go. Go the opposite direction. Works good that way. All right, so hopefully, let me hold this up and see if you can see how close I got. I don't know if you can. There you go. See how close I got to the line? That's what you want to do, because I don't have a really large satin stitch going around this. All right, so color stop number 3, you want to put in red, because that's going to do that red seam that's on a baseball. So let me change colors. All right, so this is going to do the red seam. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I've piddled with this red seam. I did it on my on another baseball thing that I did for quilt block, and it worked just fine. But I used a regular running stitch, and I used a satin stitch or a regular fill stitch for this because I really wanted it to show up. So I'm hoping it'll sew okay, or stitch okay, not sew. Alright, so this is going to take a little bit, and it looks like it's doing what I wanted it to do. I didn't want just a running stitch or a triple stitch. I wanted it to show up. So this is a fill stitch that it is stitching, and it is a very small little fill stitch. But it's heavier than a triple stitch or running stitch. And I'll be back when these red seams are finished. Okay, so now since those have finished, we're going to put our white top thread back in. Alright, I've got my white top thread back in. Time to do the satin stitching around the baseball. So it stitches right on the inside of the baseball, just barely, and then it'll go around and stitch right on the outside. So if you have any fabric sticking out, you will want to stop it before it starts stitching the satin stitch. So you would stitch it, stop it, right there, and you would want to trim your fabric away. Let's see if I can get my phone. All right, so I'm holding this so you could see. You see how the satin stitch, that line on the outside of the fabric is very close? That's why you need to trim your fabric very close with a pair of applique, sharp applique scissors. All right, so I'm going to hold my camera, hopefully, so you can see. It's not a very wide satin stitch. So I'm seeing what you're seeing. I can't even see my hoop because I have this phone holding it up. But I want you to see that it's a little more narrow than you're probably used to. But if you've got a good pair of applique scissors, you can get that fabric cut back right to the tack down line, and that's where you need to be. So because those lines are so close to that red, I didn't want that red being on top of the white satin stitching. So that's why I had to come back with the white to go over the baseball, to stitch over that little small seam of red. And I am still moving points around on this so the seam will stitch a little bit better than it did for me. I see one little issue, but I'm moving some points around so it stitches a little better. Alright, so we're almost finished with the baseball. And I don't think I can save that for anything. So what takes the most time on this is your cutting, and of course at the very end, the stars and stripes, decorative fill. Alright, so we're at color stop number 5, and it is going to stitch and I'm going to do it in pink, even though I don't need to. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it in brown, because brown is what I'm going to use, so you'll be able to see this. Let me find a color. Yeah, that'll do good. Alright, so let me put this in. Okay, so I have my brown thread in, which is for the baseball bats. Actually, it's tan. And it is going to, color stop number 5, is going to stitch your placement stitch. And my files are always the same. Pink is for a placement stitch. A pink outline is for the placement stitch. The blue outline is the tack down. And then, of course, you have your color for that particular item. And I try to put that color in whatever color I'm thinking for the thread. So it's going to go and stitch all the placement stitches, not one at a time. Okay. I'll be back. All right, so that's my placement. There goes another bobbin. Wonderful. That's my placement stitch. So I need to put something down. So I could either, let's see here. No, I need to use this one like I originally planned. Okay, so I want to make sure that it's going to cover. It's going to cover the end. Okay, so I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to watch my stitching. I can't walk away. So it's going to do a tack down. Now, if you had a big enough piece to cover the whole thing, you could use the whole thing. I'm going to use my scraps. Now, I have starched my fabric with Terrell Magic. You can use Faultless Spray Starch or that new stuff that Faultless came out with a few years ago. I like that too. I'll have to get the name of it, but I don't want to go too far because I'm going to have to turn the machine off and trim some fabric back before I can add. I don't think I can add and have it stitched. I think it'll get one more. So this is, once again, my tack down stitch. And I think I'm going to have to get my glasses for this. All right, so I'm going to stop it here. Sorry about that. I'm going to lift my foot up, let it stay where it is on the stitching, and I'm going to trim all this off, just straight up. That could be used for something else. All right, so I want to see how I want to approach this. I want to take this off. I'm going to use my other scissors. So these are squeezers, squeezies, whatever you want to call them. You know, they do like that. So I'm going to use these, and I'm going to just go all the way up. And over, and come down. These have a great edge so far. And I usually don't cut backwards like this, but seems to be working. Now I have, even going the other direction, nicked a stitch on occasion, but as long as it doesn't come out, the satin stitch will cover that up. So don't fret about it. So I'm just kind of, and that goes right along the edge, you can see. Use that piece. All right, so I wanted to do that and then go ahead and stitch the other parts before I finish. Okay, I could finish if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. So it does this one, and then it comes over here. Let's see, is this big enough? Yeah. Okay, so let me trim this up. Trim that out. I'm going to use that for over here, or like that. And that piece I cut off just a few minutes ago, I can do right here. So I'm going to let that stitch. bottom over here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to let this stitch. It's close down there. I don't know if y'all can see that stitching or not. Whoops, nope. I gotta put my long piece here. And before I do that, I want to cut this off. And once again, if you hold your scissors flat, you can get right up against that edge. See that? Okay, so now I'm going to put this on here to do this bat. Gina, stick your fingers too far in there. I ripped my nail off. Alright, so now we need to trim all this up. You've seen me trim it up here. Take this off. Always hold this so it doesn't get out of whack. And then we want to just trim this all up, and I might just use these, not for this. Let's use a different pair of scissors. Let's see if these will work going this way. Yes, okay, so just hold your fabric up. Keep your scissors flat against the design. Go right on there. I'm going to go this way. Right into that corner. And I can see that I did not get this too terribly close with these scissors, so I'm going to cut it again. That should do it. The ends of the bats are tough. They're so tiny. Of course, the smaller the design, the little more effort you're going to be putting in to trim really close. You can always use the point of your scissors carefully. Sorry, I didn't realize you couldn't see me there. There we go. Okay, so I'm using the smaller scissors because they're sharp. Holding this up, keeping my scissors flat. Good, got that up nice and close. And turning this around, going around the curve, keep it close. All right, so let me trim out the rest of this and I'll be back. All right, so I find it more comfortable to go this way. I'm very right-handed. Hold that fabric up. I did go back and do a little trimming under here, and let me give you a little secret. So there was some fabric sticking out. I put my fingers up underneath the design and barely pushed up on it just a tiny bit and got my really sharp scissors under there. Because remember, the satin stitch isn't very big. That's it right there. All right. So once again, you know, I do much better going this way than the other way. I guess it's because I can see the design. This is tricky right here. Now, if you're using a smaller hoop size, you might want to do these one at a time. I know that's a pain, but it's going to be awfully close, and you need some really fine point scissors. Okay, there's my fingertip. To do this, the smaller it gets. I've spaced, when I first created this design, I didn't have the bats spaced far enough apart to do applique. And Crystal says, oh, that's cute. I wish you had an applique on. Okay. I'll do anything, Crystal. Okay. All right. So I'm going to hold this up. Let's see here. Hopefully you'll be able to see my light over here. Oh, no. Okay, that's all right. All right, so move my camera. There it is. You see how close I got? That's how close you need to get just to do this. Some people put a really big satin stitch on the outside of their applique. I just don't like it that big. I want it to look a little more natural. So my satin stitch is not that large. All right, so color stop number 7 is going to stitch the satin stitch. Stitch the stitch, 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 stitch. All right, so I've got the same color that I used. Sorry, I'm moving my camera around. That I used to do the placement and tack down, blah, blah, blah. So I don't have to change any thread color. It's gone there automatically, and we're ready to. And it would help if I had thread in there. Hello, what happened? It just slipped right out. All that, moving that hoop around. I need to trim that off. Too long. Alright, so let's get started doing the satin stitch. So once again, it's going right inside the tack down line, all the way around on the inside. And you'll be able to tell if you've got it close enough when it starts doing the outside line. And I'm good to go, it looks like. I've got some fuzzies out there, but I think they're going to be covered up by the satin stitch. Stop this and trim this piece. Oh, I don't even trim. Oh, hello. All right. So when I did it before, these designs were a lot closer, and even though I wasn't using a really large satin stitch, it was still too close, so I really had to space them out. I try to think of y'all and what y'all will have to do to stitch these, and how, in addition to how it looks. But if it's hard for me to do or somebody else to do, if I think it's going to be difficult, then I need to space them out. Now, when you do the fill stitch, it would have been fine with just a regular fill stitch where it stitches all this in. It would have been fine for them to be closer together. But no, I needed to spread them apart, and that's looking good. Hopefully you can see that. Alright, so I will be back when all this has done the satin stitching. It's on the last bat doing the satin stitch around the applique. And the next color is going to be to stitch the stars. I'm going to use a dark blue. And I'll be right back. Alright, my satin stitching is finished. Let me pull this off. Bring the light back over so you can see. I can't get the other side here. Let me pull this over a little bit. There we go. So you can see that all my fabric is covered. Now, I'm not an expert in applique by any means, so if I can do it, you can do it. You just have to have a good pair, and to be honest with you, for all these right here, I use these. This is very sharp, very tiny, able to get in there. So these worked well. Now the larger pieces, I was just able to get more using one of these. And I think I ended up using this on the larger piece. This I used up here. So it just kind of depends on the area that you need to get to as to what scissors you want to use. Alright, so I'm going to put in my blue thread. I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm just going to let one of them stitch so you can see how it stitches. And then I'll do the rest and I'll come back. That way you'll be able to see what it looks like. It's going to stitch the one on the left, and I don't like that little thread getting caught up underneath there, so I'm going to take that off right now. If I can get my scissors to hang on. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, so it'll stitch this one, it'll go over and stitch this one, I believe, down here, and then in the middle. Oh, it goes from corner to corner, back up, back down, and then in the middle. Sorry about that. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, my stars are finished. Now we're going to do the decorative fill. Alright, and I warn about this every time. The way that the program interprets what we as digitizers create in that portion of our software, it will stitch over parts of the design 2, sometimes 3 times. We don't create the designs that way. We create, like this stripes and the stars, we create a stripe and do the star, and then connect a point to another stripe, do the star, connect a point. So it's one line, but the software doesn't interpret it that way. Let me change my thread. So, as a result, you should use the lightest color of the color family that you want to stitch the decorative fill, the background stitching. Some people call it the quilting, whatever you want to call it. We don't want that. So, I'm going to do it in a silver, okay? That's this particular silver. This is a Coats & Clark. I'm so upset with Joann's. I love this silver. It stitches well. Normally, I'm not going to jinx myself. And I did buy as many rolls as I could, spools as I could find. I hope that Michaels picks up the Coats & Clark Mini King line, because there are colors that I dearly love, and I would probably buy 10 at a time if I could. I would buy them at Joann's with a coupon or when they were on sale. Alright, so I've put in my light silver, and it's going to do the decorative fill. Now I'm going to tell you, on my machine right now, it says I'm 29 minutes into stitching this design. The total time to stitch this design was 53 minutes. So you can see how much time it's going to take to stitch that decorative fill. I don't mind. I can go do something else. I can pick up in my sewing room. I can, go to my other machine, whatever. Think about what I'm going to do next, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this. I'll let it get started. There is a space between each element and the decorative fill. It's meant to be that way. It's not meant to go on top of a line, another element. I call each of these, the bats, pieces of the bat, blah, 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 an element. And I've got a piece of thread sticking up. I'm going to get rid of. They're just a little frayed or something. I see them under that light, and I don't want them to be there. Okay. So do it now rather than later if you see little threads. All right, so like I said, it will take a while to stitch this. I'm going to show you on my machine, on my display. That's what it's stitching right now. That's a lot. And seeing as how it goes over it a couple of times in places, in most places, it's going to take it a little bit. So I'll be back. And when I do, it should be finished. All right, for some reason, I don't know why, I don't know if my thread got caught, or let me check my bobbin. It didn't. It got stuck or something. Redo my bobbin real quick. And I'm going to back up because I did cut my thread. It looked like my thread broke, so I'm going to back up. Well, maybe not. It just, I don't know what it did. Let me go back 10. So right now, this is just going around the edge, so I don't know if it got caught. Let me see what it's doing. No. So it actually just, it didn't completely cut whenever it went down here. I don't know why it's not connected. Something that the program does, and there's nothing I can do about it, so you're going to have it. It's going to cut and come down around the stars for some reason. And let's see what it's doing. It's just, see how many times it's going around that star? I don't understand. Okay, so now play ball is going to stitch, and I need to put red in. All right, so I'm at 44 minutes stitching time. So I used a lighter red to do the stitching on the baseball. I'm going to put in a darker red to do the text, and I've got a stray thread. Oh, it's right there. Sorry about my arm being in there. I had a stray thread down here on my machine, and I sure didn't want that getting caught. I don't like to use the same red all the time. If there's, a lot of red that I've chosen it for a reason, either to make it stop or just to give a little depth to it by changing the color. whatever. So I've used a lighter red here, and I'm going to use a darker red here. It's not really maroon, it's just a really dark red, to stitch the text that says play ball. And when the text finishes, we'll be through with the design. Now, does it take more time to do the applique than it does to stitch a fill design? I'll compare the two designs without the decorative fill and let you know. Okay, I'm finished. And I'm going to tell you, I had a heck of a time with this text. I had to go back to my computer and change it, and I've got a residual stitch down here that I'm going to try to pick out. It did not like a satin stitch on this font, so I had to go back to the machine and to my computer and change it to a fill stitch and pick out everything that had done. It had done this, and I was at my computer. I didn't hear it, and it messed up right here, and it messed up in here, and I still have a residual that I could not get off. It was a mess. Yeah, it had to stitch over it because I wanted to try to save the block. But all of that has been changed, and I'm going to try to get rid of that little bitty tiny stitch. I'm going to show you. See that little stitch right there? That little stitch right there. I'm going to try to get rid of it. So I saved my block by picking out what messed up, and I have changed from a satin stitch to a fill stitch on this, and it stitched much better. So that is the Applique American Baseball, Patriotic American Baseball. And I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. Bye.